artists, we're in my kitchen again today because today we're making recycled crayons. So we're going to take all the crayons that are at your house that are broken and you don't really want to use because they're teeny tiny or maybe kind of gross and dirty. And we're going to turn them into new usable crayons. Now you're going to need a couple of supplies for this project, and you're probably going to need the supervision of a guardian or a parent, or maybe if you have an older sibling in high school, they can help you too. The first most important thing is preheat your oven to about 200 degrees. You don't want to go up to anything higher than about 225 for this project because the crayons will melt too fast. You're going to need a silicone mold. These you can find in the cake decorating section of any craft store or grocery store. They're silicone and they can go into the oven. This one is shaped like Legos. You're going to need some sort of a dish to put water in if your crayons still have paper on them. If your crayons don't have paper on them, then you can skip this step, but you'll need a dish with some hot or warm water in it. And then, of course, you'll need some broken crayons. So I have a container from the art room. We save them all year long in here. And then I have some from my house. I also like to keep a second bag for smashing of the crayons. So this bag has smashed crayons in it. And I just use the handle of a tool. This is a screwdriver. And I pound them in the bag so it makes almost like a confetti crayon mix for some extra color options. So I'm going to fill my dish full of warm water and put the crayons in here and show you guys how easy it is to take the paper off the crayons to get us started before we fill our molds with the crayons. Okay, guys, go grab your supplies and let's get started. Okay, so this is filled about halfway with warm water. And I'm going to take these crayons that still have paper on them and I'm going to dump them into the container. And you ideally want them to sit here for a couple of minutes. You want the paper to get nice and soft. And all you're going to do is you're going to start taking the crayons and peeling off their paper. Now, once this has been soaking for a while, sometimes the paper will just fall out right in the container. And you want all of your crayons that you're going to be using for this activity to have no paper on them. Now, in the art room, we have this bin full of crayons where we take the paper off of them in very large batches so that when we're making our crayons at school, we already have this huge container full of crayons with no paper. Now, if you don't have an oven at your home, that's totally okay because in the art room, we use a toaster oven, and that is a small, tiny little oven that sits on the counter at your house, and it gets up pretty hot and is totally okay. The little trays will fit right into the toaster oven. Just make sure you have it on a little metal pan before you stick it into the toaster oven to prevent it from leaking. So just go in here and spend some time taking all the paper off your crayons. And when we come back, we will be ready to put our crayons in the crayon molds. Now, I'm putting my papers right here on a paper towel. You can put them on a regular towel, and that's just because I don't want them sopping wet in the crayon mold. Especially if you're doing this in a large batch to use for later, you don't want your crayons getting moldy or soggy. So when you put them away in a container like this after you're done to save them for another later day, please make sure they're totally dry. You don't want any mold or anything gross happening to your crayons while they're all packaged up on a shelf. Okay, guys, when we come back, we'll start filling our crayon molds. I just wanted to really quickly show you how easy it is to peel the paper off these crayons once they've been soaking for about 10 minutes. The paper will actually come right off the crayon, and you can peel the crayon and any type of glue that might be left behind on the crayon. These crayons have been soaking for maybe 10 or 15 minutes at this point because the water is really cooled down and the paper is just literally falling off the crayons. So you want to make sure you start with some hot water and you let them sit for 5 or so minutes, and the paper will just come right off the crayon. This is a great tip, especially if you are going to do this with a lot of crayons and you don't want to be spending hours and hours and hours trying to get the paper and any kind of residue that's left behind on the crayon off. So definitely let them sit there and soak for about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so I have my crayons here drying that I just got out of the container. They're still wet, so I have them on the paper towel, but I also have my container of crayons that I brought from the classroom that are already dried and pre-peeled. Now, you can go at this and just dump crayons in this mold however you want, but this week's theme is color, so we're going to do some color experimenting, and I'll tell you about some good ideas for colors in here. Now, if you want to get really crazy, you can put the crayons in a bag and maybe take them outside to the driveway or the sidewalk, and you can bang on them with a hammer, or the handle of a tool. So this is a screwdriver. And you can get a powder or pieces, and these will melt really fast in the oven. Or you can just take the crayons and you can break them and put them inside the crayon molds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make color families of crayons. So I'm going to make a row of cool crayons. So cool colors are greens, blues, purples, violets. Now, sometimes once these crayons have been, their wrappers taken off, they're really hard to tell what colors they are. So you want to make sure you have a piece of paper next to you and you can try out the colors. And if you don't want, let's say, a black crayon inside of your new crayons, sometimes blue and black can look really similar. So this is a black crayon, and this is a blue crayon. This is a dark blue crayon. They can look really similar. So I'm just putting blues and greens inside of these molds. Also, what is really cool is you can do some monochromatic crayons. So monochromatic means one color. So I could put, for example, in here, this is looks like a peach. I could put all orange colors from the orange family. So I can put red orange. I could put this light orange color in there. And those look really awesome and they mix well inside of there. Now, I have used and we've loved this mold in the art room. So I do know that in this mold, you kind of have to fill it higher than what the edge of the mold is. And I know that because we've made a lot of crayons in the art room. And when the crayons melt, they kind of like sink down into the holes of the mold. And you do need more crayon in there to fill it so that the top of your crayon doesn't dip down like a cup. Okay, so I've got two monochromatic crayons here. I've done orange colors from the orange family. And right here, I have done green colors from the green color family. This row, I'm slowly filling up with cool colors. And then my next row, I'm going to be filling up with warm colors. So warm colors are going to be your reds, blues. Oh, sorry. So the next row here, I'm going to put warm colors. Warm colors are reds, oranges, and yellows, and sometimes we even talk about pink when talking about warm colors. So those are the colors that I'm going to be using here in the next row. So any of the red, orange, yellow, and pink family. And those all mix really well together. And I'm going to be filling up this row with those crayons. Now, feel free to fill up your molds with whatever colors that you want. You do not have to listen to Mrs. Hamilton's rule following here. I'm just discussing these crayon colors because this week's theme in art is color. And I just want to show you the different color families, warm colors, cool colors, monochromatic colors, just to get a quick art lesson in. All right, so for this row, I'm just gonna have a ton of fun and I'm gonna be putting a mixture of rainbow colors in here on this row. I'm also gonna fill up a few more monochromatic colors and I will be right back once I've got a little bit more all filled up and I can tell you about the different color combinations that I've been making. All right, so I'm all done adding colors to my mold. So these ones I put in tons of different colors, both warm and cool colors, so they're more rainbowy. This row was all warm colors. This row was all cool colors, so that's blue, green, purple. Warm colors were red, orange, yellow, pink. Over here, I've done monochromatic colors. So this is oranges, greens. I did add a little bit of orange to the red one. And then this is all greens. And then here I've added tertiary colors. And those are colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So I've got orange and yellow and a little bit of red. Over here I've got yellow, green, and blue. Over here I've got red and purple. And I think I've got blue and green here. And those are called tertiary colors. So what I'm going to do is I've gotten a little tray and I'm going to very carefully transfer this to my tray and I'm going to have it sit like this and I'm going to put it into the oven. My oven is already preheated for 200 degrees and they're going to be in there between 15 minutes, maybe up to 20. It really depends on how big your mold is and how many crayons you've got in there. If they're thicker, bigger crayons, they'll take longer to melt. If they're thinner, tinier pieces, they'll melt really quickly. If your mold pieces are really big, to make big, huge crayons, those will obviously take a little bit longer to fill. So we're going to check the oven starting at 10 minutes and every couple of minutes after that until the crayons are nice and liquidy. And I will come right back and show you when mine are done what that step looks like. Okay, so I've just pulled my crayon molds out of the oven. They're pretty hot. I did leave them in there for a little bit over 20 minutes. I had a really big crayon that just wouldn't melt, but you can see that they're all still a bit liquidy. So I'm going to let them sit here and I'll be right back once they're all hardened and show you how to pop them out of the molds and see what the colors look like. I'll also let you know how long I let them sit here. Okay, guys, I'll be right back. So my crayons are totally cool, so I'm gonna set this aside. And I'm gonna start by kind of wiggling the sides of each crayon and pushing from the back, pop out the crayon. So this one is blue, greens, and yellows. Those are both cool colors and analogous colors. These are red, orange, and yellow, the same. All greens. Look at that, so cool. So these were my cool colored crayons. This is a monochromatic crayon, all oranges. So these are fun to make and give as gifts, but they're also really fun to color with. These are some of my rainbow crayons that I made. So they're all different colors. Look at that, so pretty. If if you make crayons, I can't wait to see what you make. Or the creations that you make with your made crayons, or you can give them as gifts. These would be a really great idea to drop off at somebody's doorstep to bring them some joy and some color to their lives. Okay, artists, I hope you have a great day. Bye.